Welcome to Life Activated. I'm Mari Roberts, corporate gal gone rad energy healer and psychic guide. The intention of this podcast is to be a supportive space that empowers you to live your passions now, encouraging you to be uniquely you and to trust your intuition. On this podcast, you're going to hear from guests who are just like you. The difference is they figured out how to bring their passions into their life. To find out more, please visit me at marirobertslife.com. Welcome back to the Life Activated podcast. Today's guest is someone that I have known for, oh my goodness, I want to say over a decade technically now.
Yes.
And oh my gosh, time. And we met in Chicago. And I couldn't think of a better person to have on the show, especially during the design season, because this gorgeous, multi-talented human is really going to talk about how she's living her life and how she's designed her life. But we met in Chicago, and she was really, and still is, really good friends with one of the first people that I met in my condo when I moved into my condo in Chicago. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Angela. Angela, I'll have you introduce yourself. And when you introduce yourself, don't forget to share other things about you, like some of the witchy woo stuff that just provides additional indicators, information about you to help others know more about who you are. And take it away.
Well, I figure this interview will probably tell more people about all my witchy woo stuff. But yes, I'm Angela. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much, Mari. And it has been a long time. It's so crazy. Both of our lives have changed. We now live in two different states
I
and
know.
have our own homes and little families. And yeah, no, I'm really excited to share my thoughts. I'm honored that she would even ask me to share them. So hopefully I can connect with somebody with my experiences as well. So,
I love it. So tell us what you do and tell us the witchy woo stuff, like your sign and all that good stuff.
oh, okay, got you. Oh, we're going to go there because I
Yeah.
love all that. Well, I'm a realtor mostly. I also do photography, portraits, sometimes other things, landscape, families, but mostly portraits. And I'm an Aries. I'm on the cusp for those that really follow this, but on the Aries side of the cusp. I would say then, though, very 100% Aries.
Mhm.
So if you read that any description, it's pretty much me to a T, and it has always been. Do you want to know more about? Because I can tell you my rising sign. And
Yeah.
oh,
People
really?
listening will
I'm like, what deep do you really want to get into this?
people listening will want to know.
Okay,
Yes.
my rising
Yeah.
sign is a Gemini, and as you'll
Mm.
probably see, I exhibit a lot of Gemini qualities. And then my moon sign is a Scorpio, which is kind of
Mm.
scary, even to me sometimes, but I think it has benefited me in lots of ways in dealing with life and surviving life, being persistent with goals and being driven. So, yeah, so it's an interesting combination. I'm
I
a
love it.
really bubbly, extroverted person on the outside, and inside I'm this, you know, kind of slow cooking, slow cooking and emotional person, but that's not really what you see on the outside. So,
That's really cool. I love it. And when we met through our mutual friend, and this will be some part of, I think, obviously the conversation around your passions and how they've ebbed and flowed. But when we met, you had a different career than what we're going to,
mhm.
and you also had your side passion, which was the ballets exercise teaching. Ballets is like, for anyone
Yes.
who's listening who's not from the Midwest,
Mhm.
I realize ballets is like a 24-hour fitness or a lifetime fitness type of a gym, and they were, like, really nice clubs, truly, and
And ballet is still around, by the way. It's
oh, it
just
is?
not
I didn't
the
know.
fitness end of it. Yeah, they do sports. They're still in entertainment. Just they don't. I don't think they have any fitness or health side to it. I could be wrong, but
I
that's
did not know that.
yeah, yes. If you watch like some NBA games, you'll still see Bally, but they're Bally sports.
Oh,
So
wow,
mhm.
that's so cool. I had no idea. I just remember, I feel like right before we moved, they were closing down their gyms. So that was like
Yeah, yeah.
2008. No, I lied. That's so wrong. 2008 is not what it was. It was like
Uh, oh gosh.
2013, 2013, I think
Yeah,
it was.
I
Yeah,
feel so long ago.
it was. It was. So before we get started, I pull a card for you and anyone who's listening, for myself. The message is going to be shared. So it doesn't matter if you're listening for the listener, if you were listening when this episode airs, or if you're listening in a month from now or a year from now, this message is still the message that is for you in this moment as well. So I'm going to just tap in. I'll share the message with you. It's from Asia to Shore, her Guided by Spirit deck. I'm going to share the card with you. It's reflection. I'll share the little picture. I know it's kind of hard to
Oh,
see from, it's really cool.
yeah, and I love the card too. It's pretty.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really, really cool. And I have the link to her website with her cards in the bio, but you gotta know that she doesn't release her cards on a regular basis, and when they sell out, they sell out, and then she will notify again when they come out, so go check out her site, you could see what's there, but still. Okay, let's see what this message is around reflection. I'm just gonna kinda tap in. Mm, that's interesting. I just heard you're a reflection of everything that is happening around you. When you take time to quiet your mind and your heart, you're able to better hear what's true for you. It's like, sort of even with the reflection, right? It's like you receive these images and light reflection, right? From, if you think about a mirror, right? And there could be multiple facets of it, but understanding what is actually yours and what is not yours, so that you can really, I just heard, discern how to move forward, because big change can come and happen, especially that which, okay, I'm just saying how it's coming, that which you desire, but you have to make sure that it's yours and not what your reflections of others, I just heard like dreams and desires. So just really paying attention to, I take that as paying attention to what is really yours, quieting your mind, quieting your heart, and really coming inward so that you can find out truly what is yours to move forward with versus other people's ideas of how you should move forward or what is for you. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's very applicable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very applicable.
Yeah. I was like, that's feels like me too. It's so easy. I think that's also why I'm going through this experiment of, unfollowing everyone
Yeah, it's
this
like a
month.
lifelong process of figuring it
Yeah.
out, So in speaking to your own mind versus listening to other people speaking. So
And it's thinking about, whatever's coming next, whatever thing you're wanting to do, or however you want to merge anything. I don't know why that came, but just again, checking in and making sure that it's yours and not, oh, and not being distracted or discouraged by someone else's perception of what you can or cannot do.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that for me at least, that was maybe still is a lifelong learning process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know, it feels like some cool things might be coming your way, or you might be working on something, so just really pay attention to what is yours and what is not yours, and even if you get an idea and you think it seems far out there, you know, if someone's telling you, like, "That seems wild," or that won't work," don't listen. Like, pay attention to first what's real for you before you listen to what everybody else might tell you is possible or not possible.
I love that.
Yeah.
Gotta keep that in mind. I will keep that in mind
Yeah, yeah,
all the
yeah.
time. And for me, especially, I think growing up, I was always a creative. I still am a creative person, but I also had this, I'm part of me that's very left brained. And so trying to, I guess, marry the two and make them beneficial and work in my life has been constant. It's a constant searching and trying. things out in my life. And, my parents, which I'll talk about when we talk about my career, really kind of influenced me to where I am right now. But I really fought against a lot of things for a long time. And I
Mhm.
still feel like part of me is fighting against certain things because I want to be me. But how do I be me using the skills I have and not feeling like I'm doing it because someone told me that's what I should be doing? And
Right.
that's very vague, but when I talk about my career, I can kind of be more specific
Yeah.
about it.
No, no. It doesn't even matter if it's your career or if someone else is listening and it's something else,
Yeah. Yeah. It could
it's
be
school because
exactly.
it's so applicable, exactly what you're saying, like,
Exactly.
even if it sounds vague, it's so applicable,
Or like
right?
you're getting married and you're
Yeah,
home right and what you should be doing with your life,
yeah.
all of that.
Exactly, exactly. It's so good. So, if you could share before you got into realty and real estate, talk about your career. What did you do before? Tell me the journey. Tell us the
Mhm.
journey to get you to where you are.
Well, I started out when I was younger and in school. I started out wanting to be a journalist. I loved writing. I loved learning things, and best way to learn things is to write about it. So got there and research it. And so that was really my goal for a very, very long time. Went to college to study communications journalism. And then I kind of ended up in sales and marketing because at the time when newspapers were still around, that's how they
Mhm.
when the newspapers were still around, I wanted to really work. Tribune was like my pinnacle. If I could work for them, I made it, the Chicago Tribune. So I was looking for jobs. They didn't have any openings. And at the time, they had only started, well, this is at the beginning of the dot com era. Okay. So at the time, they had been doing some online. Oh my gosh, if you'd seen the website back then, it was compared to what things look like now. They were exploring digital communities and creating online presence for people and reporting online. So that was still kind of new at the time. And I had already graduated college, but I was like, if that's the only job opening they have, and it was for an internship, by the way, a paid internship, it wasn't even a job, it was paid internship. I'm like, I'm doing it just to get my foot in the door.
Yeah.
And that really changed the trajectory of my career because I started out, I did some digital articles and that was cool. But in order for me to stay working for them, the only job opening they had was for marketing. They're like, you can stay in the digital communities, Angela, but it's not going to be reporting news. It's going to be marketing and trying to get nonprofits and organizations to come online and be part of our community.
Mm,
And I'll do it. I'll do it. You're offering me a salary position with your company. Fine. Maybe I won't be writing stories, but I'll be still working for you guys. And I really, really excelled at it. And then after a while, they decided to switch gears after like 3 years, I forgot, and move away from the digital communities, but still stay online. And that they were building their advertising now
mm,
and a big business. And they were really trying to make or maximize their revenue streams coming from the web. So if I wanted to stay, I had to get into sales, which I really kind of resisted because I was like, oh no, this is commission based. I go around and push this product in front of everybody. Before I felt like I was doing something to help nonprofits and community groups. Now it's like, now I'm really trying to sell something and have quotas. So I did it for a year. It wasn't me, and although everybody told me, "Angela, you've got the personality for sales. You should be in sales. You're a people person." I'm like, "I get that, but I don't know. I don't know. This is, hard sales versus soft sales." So,
right.
anyway, got of that, went to a couple other jobs. I worked for ESPN for a brief stint as a promotions director. That's how I got into event marketing. And
Mm,
then it just naturally led up to me working for an agency. I had gone back to school, right to school. This is when the downturn of some of the economy was, and everyone was going back to school back in, what year was that? Oh man, I don't even know. I can't even do the math. It was like early 2000s. So I went back to school. Then I got a job at a big, big agency named Ogilvy. They are a global agency.
yeah.
And I ended up, it was like my dream job at the time. I ended up working for their marketing side. And this was consumer marketing face to face. Again, right up my alley. I got to work with people, help people, And I did that for a really good long time. And I know this kind of, you had given me some questions, but if you don't mind, I'll get into,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
can get into what you're probably
Yes,
asking next.
natural flow, I rather natural flow, go for it, yeah.
But I loved it. It was a phenomenal place for me to learn. It was a very creative place too. Some of the most brilliant people were working there that I was surrounded by. And I ended up after several years saying, you know what? I think I'm good with Chicago. I think I've done everything I could possibly do here. I'm not getting any younger. I'm not married or tethered down by anything. I didn't have any children. So I was sort of in a good place to move myself if I wanted to.
Mhm.
And I've always wanted to live in California. I don't know why. I just had lots of good memories being out there. My grandparents used to live in NorCal, and I was always a sun person, not really a winter blizzard. I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm just going to pull the plug and make the move. Big change.
When did you move? Was it 20?
2013.
Yeah, we moved in the same year.
Oh,
We did,
really?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So,
Okay.
I moved back to California, or John and I moved back to California in 2013.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. West
yeah.
Coast. Yeah. Just,
So funny. Oh my goodness, I had
yeah.
no
Yeah.
idea. Okay.
That didn't go over too well with, even though my work was remote, we were based out of Chicago where our team was. My client was based out of there in the suburbs. And it maybe wasn't the most ideal, but they supported me in it.
Mhm.
But I think the big life changing moments happened the next year after I moved. Was already kind of burnt out by my job. And I'll explain a little bit about that. And so I was softly looking around and updating my resume. And lo and behold, I got laid off, which was actually not a bad thing because I'd already
Yeah.
I said, this is fine. This is the universe telling me something. I'm good with this.
Mhm.
And it gave me a few months to really embrace my new environment and my new home. But the big turning point, it was like that happened. And literally 6 months later, my mom had a heart attack. She had multiple. And so she was really, really, really ill. We had to hospitalize her after a major surgery for quite some time. She ended up passing about 3, 4 months later. I moved back in the process and ended up living in Chicago for 8 months out of a big suitcase. That was all I had with me. I moved
Yeah.
out of my apartment, stored all my stuff with the car. It was this huge transition.
A lot of upheaval in that period of time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And when I look back now, just like any of us would look back at times when we've had significant change, I feel like it was very fated, the way that everything kind of happened its course within that year,
Mhm.
the timing of it. Yeah, it was like almost like the universe is putting certain things in place for certain things to happen.
Mhm.
And you have to, if you can recognize that, then you just go with it. You know what I mean? You just go with
Flow
what's
with it.
happening, right? Like
Mhm.
lead into that. So I moved back, and because I wasn't working at the time and basically being there for my dad, I had this unique opportunity to say, well, what do I really want to do with myself now?
Mhm.
I missed California, but I knew I had to be there for at least a little time period. And what can I do while I was in Chicago to figure this out? So after many years of my parents who were in real estate, owned their own brokerage, were successful with their own team and constantly telling me to get into real estate. And this is where the push and pull of what people expect from you and what you want to do,
Yeah.
me resisting and saying, no, that's not what I want to do. I love my job. I'm creative, la, 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 la. I finally said, you know what am I going to lose? Might as well try it. I got, again, nothing really holding me back to see if this is something that would work for me. And it's also scary because I'm sure, as you know, Mike, you're getting out of the comfort of a corporate world, which I did learn a lot. And now you're going, I'm going to make a leap into no safety,
Mm.
just a literal leap and hoping that this works out.
Mhm.
So I spent that time studying for my exam. I had been approached by a former colleague that I respect very much who had opened his own agency out west and had asked me point blank, like, Angela, we need someone to run the West Coast. You're, a natural person for this. Would you be interested? And I actually turned him down because I was already in the middle of pursuing this
Mm.
psychoanalysis. I'm like, I owe it to myself to see if this is something I can do. I can do
Yeah.
the other stuff in my sleep. This is a new challenge for me. And when you're at a mid stage in your life and you've done a lot of stuff already, you kind of go, well, what else can I do? What else am I capable of doing? And I may
Mhm.
never know if I don't actually put myself into that environment or situation to test it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and I love
So,
what you said there, right? Like,
mhm,
the realization of testing yourself in
mhm,
terms of, like, what do you have to lose? And if you don't put yourself in that situation, you're never gonna know. You're
right.
never, ever going to know what's possible.
Right. And it's a risk. I mean,
Mhm,
let's be real. It's a big, big risk and on different levels. I'm thankful that I have, some financial backing. I think that's a big consideration that people don't think of. It's like, yeah, you can do those things as long as you can still survive.
mhm. Yeah, being planful.
Right, right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, I'm grateful that I had that and could actually
Mhm.
do that. So, yeah, so that's what really changed my life was, obviously leaving my last job, losing my mother, and then being in a new city with a completely new career now.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think it was probably meant to happen and I was just going with it. But it's one of those things that, I'll be honest, I told people I literally just turned off my job alerts a year ago.
Mhm, mhm.
I was still like keeping one foot in the door because it is very unpredictable and you're constantly going, is this something I want to stay with? Or maybe, I'm getting too old and I don't want to have to, like be concerned about certain things. And I just want that comfort and safety. And I'm still, though, at the point in my life where I'm still trying to push myself. So
Yeah,
that's why I haven't let go of the pedal yet. But here I am in a 100% sales type of position that I said I didn't want to do.
and you're in
I
it
think- yeah.
100%, but
The
it's
difference,
yours.
yeah, the difference is, thank you, Mari. The difference is it's something under my control. It's
Mhm,
something that I'm in the driver's seat for now.
mhm.
And like I said, I learned a lot in my corporate years. I'm so grateful that I worked for some amazing companies and with some amazing people. I wouldn't be the person that I am and everything that I know if it wasn't for that. So now it just felt like the time was right to see if I could make it without that, you know?
Yeah, and do life your way.
Right. And trust myself and have faith and confidence that things are going to, reveal itself in the right way. I read a lot of books in the last several years to get my
Mhm,
mind in the right place.
mhm.
I do believe in law of attraction and manifestation from being in the proper mindset. I'm still learning. I'm still
Yeah,
learning,
yeah,
see, but it really was it formed a foundation, should I say. It
yeah,
really formed a foundation for me to go and pursue now all the things I want to do and to take those risks, you know.
yeah. I have a question for you. When
Yeah.
we talked about the trust piece, how do you lean into trusting yourself? Because I think so many people listening to this,
Yeah.
that's one of the biggest things that, you know, they struggle with. That's something that I struggle with. There's some things I 1000% trust myself, and there's some things that the mind drama is like on the table.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how do you lean into that trust?
Gosh, that's a really good question. Well, I've always had a great confidence in my skills, even when I was
Mhm,
way younger, before all of my work experience and education. Maybe I was overly confident. I don't know. I've always been confident that however it would work out, that it would work out. Like that is a blind faith, obviously, but I also felt, I don't know what it was. It was this very, very strong confidence in my own ability and skills,
mhm.
and that the determination I had was like, this is going to happen no matter what it would look like, but it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to look like, and I don't know
Mhm.
how I'm going to do it, but it's going to happen.
That
I,
strong belief in yourself.
yeah, I still say that to this day. Like sometimes with business, people are like, well, do you think that's going to work? I'm like, I don't know, but we're going to make this work.
Mhm,
It's going to
mhm.
happen.
Yeah, you
Um,
see my facial expressions, I'm like, "That's right, it's gonna work."
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I'll tell you from all my experience in event marketing where there's so many unpredictables, like they would literally hand you a guide about, 5 inches thick and then nothing would go towards that. Nothing would happen according to
Mhm.
the guide that's thick. I just have learned to be like, life is unpredictable. Business is unpredictable. And so just go with it and figure
Mhm.
it out.
Mhm.
So anyway, but going back to your question, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how, it's just something I've always had in me.
I think that's a really good thing, though, and I wanna also just call back what you said, that part around, remembering, like, life is unpredictable, but still go for it
Yeah.
and still
Yeah.
go with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, having been an event planner before, yes, you can have a perfect timeline,
Yeah.
but that does not mean that everyone is gonna do what they're supposed to do on that perfect timeline
Oh my
or that
gosh.
the music's gonna go off right or whatever,
Oh my
so you
gosh.
have to go with it and also realize that most people aren't gonna know that you messed up or something didn't go
True.
great.
That is
Yeah,
true. I mean,
yeah.
you would have no, maybe you have an idea how many meetings and hours of meetings I would sit in and discussions where we plan every logistical detail to the T. And I'm like, I know something's not going to go to this, but okay,
Mhm.
and then sometimes it would, but most of the times it wouldn't. And
Mm-mm.
the greatest two things I learned, the greatest test of yourself is not how you are when things are going well. It's when things are not going well, or when there's a crisis happening, or something happening
Mhm.
that you totally didn't expect out of left field. That's when you really see what you're made of, right? The
Mhm.
gold is tested in fire. And the second thing is, if you really want to know what you're made of and you really are committed to growing and to seeing what you have in you, go into business for yourself. Go work for yourself, be an entrepreneur, start your own business, because that is going to really unveil so many things, your fears, your strengths, your weaknesses,
Yeah.
everything that you may not have ever thought were under the surface,
Oh, yeah.
get you out of the
Oh, yeah.
comfort zone, that number one, and anytime you're out of the comfort zone, you grow. But that was what, that's actually what was appealing to me about real estate.
Mhm.
Not just because of real estate, but because, man, this was going to get me out of my comfort zone. And maybe I needed that. But yeah, so that was something that I actually ran toward. I
Yeah.
didn't run away from it. I really wanted to see what I was capable of. And honestly, what's the worst thing that happened? If it doesn't work out, this
Go
doesn't pan
back.
well, then go back. Yeah,
Mhm.
everyone said that to me. You can
Mhm.
always go back to Chicago. You can always go back into marketing, you know.
Exactly.
And so that's why I felt like, okay, then let's do this. Let's see how this is going to work. And man, it's been several years. I have learned so much about me and also have connected with really the most fabulous people because, you attract what you put out, right? So I was really meeting people who I don't think I would have met before. Had I stayed in my place
Mhm.
before, I really don't think I would have been exposed to all these different perspectives and thoughts and backgrounds.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, and I love the reminder of, the getting what you put out
Hmm.
and not to me, I hear that as just not being afraid. If you don't try, you're never gonna know.
Right.
And so, I know that you also do photography,
Yes.
and you are also so you've got your artist side to
Mhm.
you, and you have your real estate side to you, which I feel like also requires art to
Oh,
like,
yeah.
really creativity. But with that, my question is, when you think about your passions, what's sort of the through line for you with
Mhm.
everything?
Well, there's a few through lines
Yeah,
actually,
I can't wait to hear.
that I've discovered. And I'm happy that I finally know what they are because for a long time I'm like, why am I in this path, or why am I doing this? Or why am I interested in this? It took a while, but now I can see that the patterns. But I want to say I've always been, starting from back when I was younger and writing and communicating, I've always been this the Gemini rising part of me. I've always been in a field or been attracted to fields where I was able to interact with people and connect with people.
Mm,
Now, there's a lot of jobs that connect with people. Absolutely. Okay. But for me, it was a very, very physical thing. When I was writing and talking to people, I was interviewing people, meeting with them. And then when I got into, obviously marketing and events, I was constantly at events, night events, day events, the whole day,
mhm,
working with teams, brand ambassadors. It was fun. It was a fun thing. And I was living my passion.
mhm,
Real estate is that. I mean, I'm connecting with different people all the time. And not only that, it gives me great, great joy to be able to help others and improve their lives in some way. And
Mhm.
so obviously real estate can be the biggest purchase a person may ever make in their life. It's obviously a life milestone, you know,
Mhm.
and to be involved in that, it means so much to me. And this is a thought I forget that I couldn't remember before. But, when I was working for corporate, yes, we worked with big companies like Fortune 500 type of companies, but it was never me making all the decisions. It was
Yeah.
never me being in the critical talks. We were sent out to do what other people had planned or told us to do. We had some minimal input, but man, when you're working for yourself and in business like real estate, when you're working with people, you are 100% accountable for all of your successes and all of your failures too.
Mhm.
And I was okay with that. I wanted to be accountable for both, for my failures and for my successes. And if someone had a phenomenal experience, yay. If someone wasn't happy with something, that's where I needed to figure it out and learn.
Mhm.
And I didn't have that. You don't really have that if you're working for somebody else or another company.
Yeah.
It's not you that did a good job. It's the team or the company or the brand or whatever.
Yeah, or you did a good job for the company.
Or
It's like,
whoever else it
yeah,
is.
yeah,
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 you're
yeah. You're at the mercy.
for lack of a better description, you're a cog. It's not saying that you don't do meaningful work or you can like your work, but you are still a cog in the whole
Mhm.
process, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But when you're working for yourself or you own your own business, I mean, you're it. You're where the buck stops.
When I started the journey of cultivating my own inner wisdom, I was so disconnected. I was literally following the path of every should that you could possibly name. And that led me to a soul sucking job. I woke up one day and I realized that I didn't even know who I was. I didn't recognize myself. I was stuck. I lacked confidence and I couldn't tell you not only what I was passionate about, but what my values were or what my purpose was. I didn't want to feel like that anymore. And I sure as hell didn't want anyone else to feel that way. That led me to taking one step, one simple step at a time to begin to reconnect to my truth, working with mentors on my psychic gifts and becoming a certified coach, working on cultivating my healing gifts. And I knew that when I was working with clients, the most important thing was to provide support that was intuitively led, but practical and grounded, because this is the world that we live in. It's connecting yourself to your intuition and doing it in a grounded way so that you can expand and make the impact that you're here to make. This has led to this course, Life Activated. I help you connect with your vision and your purpose so that you can see what is for you and what you actually want to do. This course, Life Activated, was created because I wanted to give you something that was accessible, that you could come back to over and over again. I wanted it to be something that could be reached by anyone. What is this life activated course? Well, I'll take you through. This is a 3-step method that you're going to go through to connect with your purpose, to identify your vision clearly, and to identify the steps that are for you to take and execute your plan so that you can reap the rewards of living the life that you are here to live, making the impact that you're here to make. Because you and I know that you are here for something great. This course, Life Activated, is an 8-week hybrid program. It's blending community and giving you the option to have one on one support with me. There are group calls, support calls for 8 weeks. You're going to have access to people who are just like you to ask questions, share insights, receive validation. And if you choose to work with me one on one, You are going to be able to dive deeper into your unique vision, tackle any particular challenges, and get support to help you make clear, guided steps. I know that sounds great, but the most important thing is this community doesn't go away. You're going to have access to a community beyond that that you can be a part of for as long as you want for life. Because journeys of this kind aren't over in an 8-week time for a period. And I want you to have the ability to be with your community and celebrate for life. I want you to also know that this program is so accessible. We've got 3 options for you. You can just join the course and the support community for $500 lifetime access. You can have option 2, which is the course and one-on-one support with me, 1 session that is $545. And you can also access me and have extra support. That's 2 45-minute private calls with me for $600. Again, everything else lifetime access. So this course is so accessible. You can just join at $500. You can get actually time with me for up to $600. So don't wait, run, and I'll see you inside the course.
So for me, this connecting and helping people so directly now was enticing, and it brings me joy still to this day to know I've helped a lot of people in that way. And there's also you and I have talked about this, the teaching and training and mentoring aspect,
Yeah, yeah.
which kind of crept up on me, to be honest with this. I wasn't even like, I didn't even think of that as a skill or a passion. I just did it. And it started appearing in every single one of my jobs. So
Mhm.
when you mentioned ballet, I used to teach fitness classes. Now I just take them. I'm happy just to take them. But boy, I used to teach them. And that was fun too. And I met some of my best friends, lifelong friends from that.
Mhm.
I met you from that. But yeah, so there was that. I was teaching fitness and then I started managing other instructors. And then when I was at Ogilvy, I was training managers and ambassadors on how to promote brands and whatever product or service it was. So I was leading trainings in different cities. And then when I got into real estate, lo and behold, here I am again, with mentoring, coaching, new agents. I taught some classes, skill series classes when I used to be at Keller Williams.
Mhm.
And then I got hired on. I still am one of the lead trainers for a very big licensing school called CA Realty.
Yeah.
So it's a licensing school for obviously people wanting to be real estate agents. And now I have my own team. This year or last year, should I say, was the first time I decided to not be a solo agent and have my own little team.
That's
So
amazing.
so I am, mentoring my new agents. So after some time, I'm like, this clearly is something that the universe wants me to do
Mhm.
because I've been
Mhm.
doing it in so many different ways throughout all of my careers and I love it. I love it so much. Again, it's helping and connecting with people. It's bettering their lives in some way. That Malcolm Gladwell book, I think is it Blink? I can't remember I forget which one it was, where it talks about connectors.
Mhm.
When I read that, I was like, this is me. This is totally me. And that's how it expresses itself in all my jobs.
Yeah.
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 But like I said, creativity can happen in all sorts of places. It doesn't have to be when we think of the artist, which I have a whole lot of respect for, and that's a whole nother side of my life. But when we think about art and photography and even those who sing, dance, act, you know, that's what we think of creative. But creativity lives and exists in lots of different ways. You can
Mhm.
be an accountant and be creative. It's
Yes.
how you look at the world and the unique way that you view the world that's unique to you. I'm not going to see it the same way you do. And how I view it, even though we're in maybe the same job or same career, it's going to be very, very different. Right.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what we need to embrace is that part of ourselves that no matter what we're doing as our chosen job or a career, where is that creativity in that?
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to look like what we always think creativity is supposed to look like.
No.
You could,
Yeah,
I'm not a painter or anything by any means,
you are a photographer.
but I'm a photographer. I look at a
Yeah.
world in a certain way. And,
Mhm.
other photographers can look at the same person and same plant and we take a different photo.
Mhm. Mhm.
So,
Yeah. I love it. I love that. And I love the reminder too, right? It's like how I think about passion, right? Like passions doesn't mean that you have to like make money doing your passion. It could just
mhm.
literally be the thing you do because you love it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And creativity is in that same vein. Your creativity can show up in everything you do. And, so many of us, even myself, sometimes I get stuck with I'm not that creative, especially in the social media world. Oh my goodness, I think I'm not creative on a regular basis. But remembering that just our lens
Mhm.
is what makes us creative,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
having the freedom to express it the way that we want is what makes us creative.
Absolutely. I mean, all of us have seen something or read an article about someone and been like, wow, they thought of that
Mhm.
and they made all this money or now they're famous or whatever. And it wasn't anything that was rocket science, but
Yeah.
it's something that you're like, I could have thought of that, but I didn't think of that.
Potty what is it? Potty squatty or squatty potty or whatever?
Oh, what's that?
Is for pooping, but, like, it's just a stupid little thing that is just like, you put it under your toilet, it fits right under your toilet, like, someone had to be creative to come up with that,
Yeah,
you
I don't even
know?
know what that is. And now I'm
Oh,
learning.
you gotta go look it up. It was on Shark Tank,
Okay.
but,
Great show.
like
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, this is, like, years ago too, and, you know, again, who would have thought of this thing that you create that is for a practical reason for pooping,
Yeah.
but and to make it easier, but it was something creative that this person or people, I don't know, I think person created, right? And
Mhm.
now it's like this thing. And again, it doesn't have to be a multi-million
Yeah.
dollar
It could be,
product. It could
yeah.
just be the way that you bake bread is your way and is a little bit more creative.
Or your
So,
system of doing things,
yes.
you know, Home Edit, I love following them on Instagram,
Mhm.
and they had I think they have a show on Netflix too.
Yes.
But anyway, how much of this world has had people do home organizing? I mean, the Marie Kondo, you know, whole thing, which by the way, she just had an article come out saying that she's like, it's okay if you're messy. This is because she has 3 children. And she realized I can't keep my place tidy all the time.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, it's so funny. So she's actually going, like I said, she's going with that flow now and leaning into that. And now,
Until her kids are older probably, and then she can teach them how to
go
be
back to
tidy
being
again.
tidy.
Yeah.
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 But anyway, I think it's, again, home organizing isn't rocket science. It's not even a new concept or idea,
Mm-mm.
but somehow someone has taken a unique angle to it or presented it differently. For Marie Kondo, it was about, what was it? Finding the joy
Mhm.
items and releasing them and that there's
Yeah.
serves purpose, and that was a whole new mindset and way of thinking. It wasn't a new thing. We've always organized.
Yeah.
It's a new way of, looking at it.
Mhm.
So that's what I think is important to not discount yourself. Like, how you're like, oh my God, I'm not creative when no, you probably are, but in a different fashion than other people.
Exactly. Exactly. I love that. So, again, talking about our
Mm.
passions, talking about, photography even and just being creative, how do you express yourself?
So you mean like in photography and taking photos, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, there's that. That's a very, I guess, physical thing. I still love working out, and I just don't teach it anymore, but
Mhm.
I have to have body movement. I think that's the fire and air side to me.
Mhm.
I need to be that dynamic expression of physical movement is really important for me to feel life.
Yeah.
I'm never one of those people who is someone has to be like, you gotta get up and moving, because I'm wanting to be on the go. This is how I feel. Not saying there's not times when at night I'm just, squished up into the couch watching Netflix. That happens a lot. But my mind and my body are the things that I always have to keep moving because
Mhm.
that's what keeps me going.
Mhm.
When people say retirement, I'm not even sure what that means. Because, first of all, I want to live my life the way I want now. I don't want to wait till I'm too old to really enjoy it.
Mhm.
And secondly, do we really retire? I mean, like, if you love doing things and you love keeping your mind active, I don't know. I don't know if I'm truly retired, right?
No, so I will
I
tell
feel I
you
can't use my brain anymore.
yeah, I will tell you, my mom is 75, 75. I think she's 75. She might be 76. She
Mhm.
might listen to this and be like, "You don't remember my age." Anyway, she just had her birthday. She retired at, like, 60, and then
Wow.
she came out of retirement and went back to work, and then she retired, and I'm doing air quotes for anyone who is listening. She retired again, and again, I told you how old she
She's
is.
doing like the Michael Jordan thing.
Well, she's retired again. She's fully retired, but she still is a consultant. So she works about 10 to 20 hours for the company
Oh.
that she used to work for because she loves what she does. And she is super active. You know, she now lives in a 55 and older community. She moved
Mhm.
up here by us. She lives in a 55 and older community. She is like my mom. If you're listening to this, mom, hi, I'm talking about you. She moved to
Wow.
this community. She plays water volleyball.
Wow.
She plays pickleball. She's like in the hiking little club and all these other clubs, and she volunteers for the prison ministry with
Oh,
church. She's
awesome.
extremely active, and at one point she said I feel like this was just recently, she said something about, maybe she should really retire, and I said, "Why? If you enjoy working,
Yeah.
why? Like,
Again, why do you
keep
need to? Yeah.
doing." Yeah. If it brings you joy and you enjoy doing these things, keep doing it. And by the way, I'm sharing with you all the stuff my mom does, not to be a brag person, but to just share with you that we can all age and still be active. We can still do things we enjoy. It may just look different. We
Right.
may find new passions, but it doesn't mean life stops,
Oh,
just
I want to be your mom. I'm going to be your mom.
yeah,
Hopefully,
yeah,
thankfully, if I get to that age and later, or when I get to that age, and
yeah.
I'm in a senior community, I'll be the one organizing the little field trips and
Oh
games.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I don't think there is a point where, I mean, you could pick up a new passion 20 years from now. You don't know, you know?
Mhm.
So I don't think there's a need for us to put a timeline or pigeonhole ourselves into any type of, well, you should be doing this now and this later. No, not at all.
No.
Especially now that people are living longer. That's a whole nother discussion. But, we are living longer due to modern technology and medicine.
Mhm.
And it's really changing the way that we view seniors because there's never been a game plan for seniors because no one ever lived past a certain age, you know?
Yeah.
No one ever said, well, what's life like after 70 and 80? And I'm constantly impressed when I see like actors or presidents, doing these jobs that I'm like, some people can't even do that now. And they're not
Mhm.
80, and look at
Yeah.
these people. So I know you're going to get to this question, but can I just skip to it since we're running
Yeah.
out
Yeah,
of time?
yeah.
But when you asked a question that you emailed me, which was, how have you designed your life to allow your passions
Mhm.
full
Mhm.
part?
Mhm.
And what you have said a segue into is sort of this, which is what I'm doing right now. Real estate, even though there's a lot of risk, it's unpredictable. My salary is unpredictable. The whole reason that I have pursued this in the later part of my life and hope to, branch out from it is to allow myself time because time
Mhm.
is the most precious thing that we have. We talk about money, wealth, and other things. And, the abundance of time is something we should really strive for because that's what allows us to do the things we want to do. That's what allows us to create joy and be creative. And so, this path that I'm still working out right now for myself is to give myself the time to explore my creative side,
Yeah.
to travel. Oh my gosh, I love traveling so much. And that gives me so much life when I'm able to see new places, meet new people. It gives me time to develop skills that I didn't have. You know what I mean? It gives me time to spend with more family and friends.
Yep.
And so why am I, should I say, doing the things that I'm doing is because that's what I value.
Yeah.
That is to me the greatest gift. Now, when you're 25, you don't sit there and go, dang, because you think you're going to You're like, 65 is so long off, not even thinking about
Mhm.
that right now. But in the second half of your life, you start thinking about that. Or a lot
Yeah.
of people start thinking about that. So for me, and everybody's game plan looks different, of course. But for me and a lot of friends that I've talked to have all been saying the same thing, which is I'm not trying to work to work. I'm trying to work to not work anymore. You
Yeah.
know,
Mhm.
and prepare myself. Back then, my parents, and maybe your parents too, had jobs where you literally stayed in that job for 30 plus years until you retired, and then that's it,
Mhm.
get
Mhm.
retired. A lot of people now, and especially the younger generation, are saying, we want to live that life now. I want to be able to travel now, not after I'm done retiring. I want to be able to enjoy the things and do the things now because what if I don't live to see 75? What
Yeah.
if I'm not there? So that's sort of what my mind is where it is at right now,
Yeah.
which is how can I enjoy as much as possible now and set up something where I can enjoy more later that hopefully I am around later. And yeah, that's really how that's how I allow passions to be part of my life because I'm doing things where I don't have to ask a boss for a week off at
Mhm.
this time of the year. I just take it off if I know that I've done the work or can plan around it. When my mother passed and I said it seemed fated, well, I had, been laid off a few months beforehand. And man, I'm so glad now when I think about it, not only because of me wanting to switch careers anyway, but I couldn't have been with her and gone back and forth and stayed with her and stayed with my dad after she
No.
passed had I been in a job that wouldn't allow me that flexibility or time off,
Nope.
you
Nope.
know?
Mm-mm.
And so things happen for a reason, obviously. And that was probably the biggest example of how time was so important to me. And I'll never forget that.
Mhm.
I'll never forget that. So how can we create a life that affords us that ability to explore our passions more? Or is the life we've created stifling our ability and time or the environment to create those passions and
Mhm.
those passions?
Yeah. And that's a really great invitation for anyone listening to just ask yourself those even questions, right? Are you living the life right now that is affording you to live your passions? And if you're not, what's stifling it?
Mm.
And, even kind of adding another layer of question to that is, what would it look like if you allowed your passions to be a part of your life? What
Mhm.
might need to change, And then what one step could you take to take that change, to make that change? It
Right.
doesn't have to be a huge step always. Sometimes it just starts with the one step.
Mhm.
It starts with say even just having the thought of, I think it's time for me to think about some other opportunity. Or if it's not job related, maybe it's I think it's time for me to sign up for the Spanish class or the French class or whatever the one
Yeah,
is.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I was reading something recently that was talking about awareness. Okay.
Mhm.
And I think it ties in with your card reflection because if you believe in this, if you really believe that, and I do, that our universe and us, all of us in it, are energy.
Mhm.
And even our thoughts are energy. Everything is energy. And any small change can change that flow. And what I was reading, and I really do agree with this, is that our thoughts may not have been created by us. We think we created our thoughts, but if that thought was there and it came into existence into your mind, into your brain, then that means it existed before you thought of it.
Mhm.
Okay. Otherwise, why would it be there? It was
Mhm.
there, but somehow your awareness tuned you into it.
Mhm.
Okay. And that's how I think people who are very successful and what we call geniuses, or inventors. I think a lot of times it's just an awareness and leaving your mind open to that awareness
Mhm.
because these thoughts exist in our world, in our universe. Our energy can move these thoughts into any direction that you want them to go. But are you aware of, what I mean? Are you
Mhm.
taking the time to reflect and see what do I need to be aware of
Mhm.
in that situation?
Yeah. That stillness to hear your
Mhm.
own voice. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I love
when
that.
what it is we're all capable of really anything because these thoughts aren't going, well, I'm only going to pick Mari for this, or I'm going to,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they're out there for anyone to really embrace.
Mhm.
Okay. So I really do. And I know it sounds cheesy and
No,
like
no.
platitude, but
Hello.
I do
No.
believe anything is possible. I
Yeah.
really do.
Yeah.
And even if it's, and when I say anything, because even if you don't reach the thing that you think you're going to do or get, might do something else. And so, one of the things that I remember I was so scared of when I was first moving out here, I was trying to think of a million things, like handle a million logistics. Where am I going to live and what can I afford? And I need to find a job at the same time as I'm finding a living situation. And one of my girlfriends was like, well, when are you actually moving to California? Like, have you picked a date? Like, when are you actually leaving? I was like, oh no, because I wanted to get the apartment first. And then, but I need to also see some apartment. I was just frazzled. And she's like, Angela, she's like, pick a date. Just pick a date. Just pick a date next Friday, whatever. And once you have that date, everything will fall into place.
Mhm.
What you're
Mhm.
looking for, where you're going to live, whatever, just trust that it's going to happen. And that's the day you're moving, you know?
Mhm.
And at that time, now it seems like a natural thought. At that time, I was so like, okay.
Mhm.
Like, all right, I guess it will. And it did. It did. Everything happened the way it was supposed to happen, you know?
I I
But
love it.
sometimes it's just like you said, it's just putting it out there without really having an idea of how it's going to happen or a game plan, but just taking that first step, baby step.
Yeah, because it is the first step. The first step for you was, like, you said you were gonna do it, and then the next step was like, "Okay, I have to pick a date so that you can have things happen around it,"
Mhm.
versus, like, sort of stutter around on, like,
I
"I
need
gotta
this
figure
first
this."
to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a date that I'm going for. Now there's direction,
Now it's real. Yeah.
and there's direction, like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know that there's a date that I'm going toward versus eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What we focus on expands. So
Mhm.
if we say this is going to happen, don't know how, this
Mhm.
is going to happen, your energy that you're putting out there is going to draw the right things to happen. I firmly
Mhm.
believe that, and it is really a leap of faith, but once you have put that out there, it now exists in reality. It now exists in reality. And I don't think if you focus enough on it, it can't not happen, right?
Mhm.
It can't not happen if
Yeah.
you are putting all your thoughts and energy towards it. I mean, if we all think about a time when we're like, man, I can't believe I did that, or wow, well, think about all this, think about everything before that.
Mhm.
Okay. And how could it not happen because of all the effort and everything? You practically willed it into existence.
Yeah.
You put enough of your focus on it.
I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
So, as we're wrapping up, I have 2 big questions for you.
Mhm.
One is, what brings you back to yourself? When you are living life, things are happening, and, maybe you're just kinda going, 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 right? How do you come back to center to yourself?
Well, one of the things I learned when I was a new agent, I was going through training with the other new agents, is what is your big why?
Mm.
Have to plug Keller Williams for that. What is your big why? Because at first I thought, again, another platitude, like, what does this really mean? But now I preach this to everybody, deciding not only to get real estate, but to get in any change in their life, because there has to be something greater that's motivating you.
Mhm.
Obviously, people getting into real estate want to make more money. That's valid, totally valid and legitimate, and you should pursue it because of that reason. But why do you want to make more money?
Mhm.
And those reasons could be different for everybody. And the reason it's good to know what that reason is because there are going to be challenges, major challenges that come through that are going to make you question whether what you decided was right. Okay. Especially for, my kind of business and career, we're constantly like, this is why did I agree to do this? As a market is bad and I can't find a buyer, all this.
Yeah.
But if you know your big why, if you know what centers you, then no matter what the challenge is, you're going to go, you know what? I got to put my kids through college, or I got to support my elderly parents, or I'm determined I'm going to travel the world at some point in my life, not when I'm 80, but when I'm 60. So this might suck right now, but that big why is going to push me through this. I'm going to do
Mhm.
this because I remembered why I was doing this. Okay.
Mhm.
And if
Mhm.
you don't have that, then everything's that's frustrating is just going to be frustrating. You're just going to give up
Yeah.
because, so I tell people that it's important. And again, not just because it sounds like a cool thing to say, but man, if you don't know what's really driving you and what's driving me is like I said earlier, it's changed later in my life is I want to maximize whatever time I have left on this earth to
Mhm.
really enjoy the people and the experiences and the journey, that the saying, it's not about the destination, about the journey. That makes more sense the more life you've lived, where you're like, that didn't work out that way or anything, but, I enjoyed this about it.
Mhm.
And man, it's really, that's the most fulfilling part. Not saying that getting to it isn't fulfilling, but are we ever getting to a point where we're like, yep, this is it. We got everything. I know everything. I get everything. I don't think as humans we ever get to that.
Yeah.
Hopefully we don't think that. Hopefully we always think there's something to strive for. So for me, it's about remembering the why and remembering, that it's about the journey, that it is the experience that you've been lucky enough to be on earth in this lifetime, in this right now space. So what am I going to go back when I'm not in this space and I'm just some spirit in the ear? What am I going to look back and be like, man, that was a really cool experience. And I got this out of that. And if I come back down to earth in another being, then I get another new experience. Woohoo.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's kind of how I see it now. And like I said, I feel like it's something, a viewpoint that I didn't get until later in life when I've actually had, my mom passing and
Yeah.
people that have left my life. And it really makes you reflect on what you're doing here, your mortality, what your purpose
Mhm.
is. And yeah, I think that's important to keep in mind.
I think that's good. I love that, and it's a good reminder again. Last question for you is something that I like to ask all of my guests when I think it's a area that we all struggle with as women. Some
Mhm.
do it better than others. I have definitely heard this on this podcast. Some do it way better than others. But how do you celebrate yourself?
Oh, so when I saw that question, I was like, I had no idea what that actually means. It sounds so self-indulgent, like,
See, you might be in my camp of like, it's not always easy to celebrate myself.
I
Yeah.
know, and I'm
Yeah.
thinking it's like selfish and, how do other
Mhm.
people celebrate this? So how do you celebrate yourself? And how
It's a journey, it's a struggle, it's not always easy. Sometimes it's, like, I'll just dance in the car like, "Ooh, I did this thing," or I'll, like, have an air high five, and sometimes it's like which I have not still done, which is horrible, but, like, I'll go get a pedicure or do
Mm,
something nice, but my cousin is a guest on the podcast, and she shares her way of celebrating herself, and it's phenomenal. I
mm,
will not share yet, but it's phenomenal. I'll share her off. But basically what I'm saying is she makes sure that she takes the time to celebrate herself. And other guests on the podcast have said, bubble baths are their way that they celebrate themselves, or, just, making sure that they are journaling and reflecting on that amazing thing that happened for them in that moment. So if they do have a big success or a big win, and whatever that is for them, they take a moment to acknowledge it in the moment. Yeah. So it's a good thing for us to remember to celebrate ourselves because we just don't do it enough.
yeah.
And that's why I like to ask the question.
Thought it was like a bigger answer, but no,
Oh.
this makes sense. I feel like celebrate myself every day. What's going on? I'm like, trying to eat that for spot that I said I wouldn't eat, or
Hmm.
this cake.
Hmm.
I'm going to watch the show instead of doing this. But no, to be honest, I like escaping
Hmm.
because I'm a big travel person. For me, it's like, yay, I got this done and everything's in place. And then now I'm going to go away from reality
Hmm. Hmm.
and sink into something completely different and do something completely different.
Yeah.
So the nice thing about living in California, and because you live in the West Coast too, is there's many places to go away and take a little breather and just you know, be happy with life and connect with other things.
Yeah.
So yeah, my partner and we like going outdoors and hiking. And there's something about when you get out and you travel or you just even go to a park nearby and go hiking, that you get out of your mind,
Mm-hmm.
your little tiny thoughts, and see that there's a bigger world and other things going on and things that are
Mm-hmm.
not in your control, and embrace that, you know,
Yep.
embrace the fact that there's more going on than the things that are, you know, sometimes causing you stress
Yeah.
and causing you anxiety. So yeah, that's how I could have celebrated, I guess. It's just like being out and enjoying the rest of the world that isn't stuck dealing with my responsibilities.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes
So
sense. I love it.
yeah.
That makes sense. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
but massages are nice too, and pedicures are also nice. All of that
Yeah.
is also
Yeah.
fantastic.
So before we wrap up, how can people find you?
Okay. Well, many ways to find me, but really for real estate, it's Instagram, which is so.la.property group. One word, so.la.property group. I have an Angela So Photography Instagram handle, which is Angela So Photography, all one word.
We'll link all this.
Yes. But I mean, the rest are just my personal pages. My dog has a page, the one that's sleeping behind me right now. But yeah, those are the ones where usually I'm promoting out there. I do put a little myself, so it's not just like,
Yeah.
what's this? You know what I mean? There's me. I am on there too.
Yes. Yes, you are. It's great. So anyone who is in the LA area, if you are looking for a house, a condo, then reach out to Angela because she truly is. Hopefully, you could hear it over our conversation today. She is a genuine Spitfire. Yeah. Two different things, a genuine human who is a Spitfire and a lot of fun. So if you are in LA and you're looking for a home, definitely reach out to her. And if you're looking for photography, if you're looking for a portrait, definitely reach out, especially if you're in LA, because you do in person, all in person, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely,
I know
absolutely.
some people have been with the pandemic, people did stuff over the internet, so that's why I was like, "Wait, you
Oh,
these are
interesting.
those are
Yeah, no,
I
all
don't
in
know how it works."
person. And also the great thing about California is there's so many beautiful places for vacation homes. So
Yeah,
some people are not looking to live here as a primary residence. A lot of them are also looking, Palm Springs or
yeah,
Ventura or San Diego to buy a second property.
yeah.
And I'm of course happy to help you with that. So
Yeah, for sure, and I'll
somebody
come
to help
visit.
you find a little escape for yourself. So
Yeah, and I'll come visit. Don't
oh,
worry,
of
don't
course,
worry.
of
Hello.
course, of course.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, for talking through how have designed your life to bring your passions throughout and how you've connected that through line of, what you are passionate about and how it's really shown up through all areas of your life. And I think that really important piece that I didn't call out earlier, but just that time that you took to reflect, to even see and understand the through line of your passions, I think that's really amazing and for just sharing your magic with us. Thank you for being here.
You are amazing. Thank you, Mari, so much. It's a lot of fun to chat about this.
Oh,
So hopefully it inspires somebody.
yes, that's the goal that we inspire other people to live their passions and just to take a step. That's it. All right. Until next time.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
All right. That does it for this episode of the Life Activated podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Please do subscribe to the show. Let me know that you've done so. Send me a message on LinkedIn or Instagram with a screenshot, and I will personally reach out to you to thank you. Definitely check out the show notes for additional resources to support you with this season.